You're watching Your Turn. If it matters to you, it's important to us.
As we know, holiday gatherings are not always picture perfect, like a Norman Rockwell painting at all. Families are split on religious celebrations or divorce, who gets the kids, or fights over how much to spend on gifts, which family to visit this year, or what to do about that aunt or grandpa who's always seems to cause a problem. Every family has drama. It's especially sensitive this time of year. Is there something you just can't figure out how to solve? Joining us today, Mary McGinnis is a licensed marriage and family therapist in private practice in Tampa, also does some parenting coordination there, and Dr. Harold Shanitsky, a licensed psychologist in private practice in Clearwater. Boy, do we need you two this time of year. What happens at the holidays that just heightens the tension? Mary, I'll start with you.
I think one of the things is that we're already very busy people, and we try to impose on ourselves a number of additional obligations. So I think one thing is just the general stress of the holiday. I think also trying to blend different families and families that sort of have these different rules in their separate places and trying to ask them to mesh together successfully can bring additional stress.
So a couple maybe is doing okay on their own, but then you bring this family and then the in-laws together, and then boom, kaboom.
Yes, exactly. Kaboom is exactly right. Yes. I mean, people are all doing relatively well, but when they come together, I think they have old issues that arise, things that have been unresolved, and just different rules that have been operating successfully within the individual families. But trying to blend all those together is difficult.
When you think about how nowadays we live in quite spread regions of the nation, that an individual who may come from a family that has some dysfunction or some issues, now they become a functional adult, they get on with their lives, and now here they are being exposed or re-exposed, re-traumatized, so to say, to the same type of dysfunction that they grew up with, that they escaped from. And now they have to figure out, how do I cope with this? Which oftentimes is a major challenge, even though they might be highly functional in their current existence.
So you're saying that they grow up, they go to school or whatever, they get a job, they move away, they come home for the holidays, and what happens when they walk into that situation?
Yeah, I tend to say that someone is a victim of your environment when you're a minor, but once you hit the age of majority, if you continue to go back to that old style of behaving, you're no longer a victim, you're a volunteer. So you have to figure out how to cope with that situation.
And so do you kind of revert back then to the old patterns when there's dad saying that thing again, or mom's doing what she always does, and then you become what you were as a child?
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
We oftentimes will
regress
back to our default mode. You know, whenever we perceive stress, there is this kind of way that we defensively manage ourselves in the world. And until we actually realize that's what we tend to do in a stressful situation, if we don't understand why we do what we do, we keep doing it. So when we go back, we have to realize they're going to have their issues, they're going to have their pathology, their style, their way of interacting or judging, and I have to deal with it in a very different way.
You know, and that's interesting, because you know there's always somebody in your family that knows how to push your buttons.
They really do, and I think one of the ways you deal with that is to figure out what it is. What are they doing? So often people will treat things as discrete events, and it's only when you take back a little and start to look, and you will almost always start to see a theme. What is the button they push? What is that dynamic that they can do? Is it the use of guilt? Is it perhaps some...
Guilt, there's a big one. That happens a lot.
Is it some expectation that they've been carrying for a long time? But you will see a theme, and once you see the theme, that's the first step, I think, in being able to try to address it and move beyond.
How do you do that? How do you address somebody who knows how to push your buttons? They just get under your skin, and every holiday you have to see them. What do you do?
Number one, I think you realize it is just at the holiday, and I don't necessarily think the holiday is the time that you're going to try and get into family therapy, you know, around the,
Really?
the Christmas turkey or anything.
Although that does happen, I bet.
It does.
Around the table, somebody will say, you know, you always did that, and there you go.
Yeah, I don't think that works very well.
Okay.
But
What would be preferable?
I think one thing, having the segment right now, there's still time, assuming we're talking about a Christmas celebration, for people to think about what is it that does that, and to begin to just look at what is that, why is it so bothersome to me, And if necessary, there's even a little time to talk with someone, maybe even as a professional, to help tease out what's going on. I mean, this is really the kind of thing that you have throughout the year to do, because I get an awful lot of people coming in during the holidays that are really uncomfortable with the idea that, exactly what you said, they're going to have to go back and be exposed to that environment.
Yeah, a lot of people, unfortunately, don't take with them into adulthood the idea that they are in control of themselves. They're not in control of others. And as you're talking about being able to take a look at what the themes are, someone else's behavior reflects upon them, not upon you. And so if I have the opportunity of realizing, well, I don't have to have that same mindset just because someone wants to push my button. That's their control.
So
my
give me
control
an
is mine.
example then of how somebody might push your buttons in your family that you only see a couple of times a year, and how you can change that dynamic.
Well, if you're
with
always
that.
seeking the love, the acceptance, the approval of your parents, your family, and you know that they tend to be judgmental and hypercritical, you know ahead of time that they're probably going to be saying things, well, you never really were one to really apply yourself or work hard enough. And the reality is you might be a highly functional individual. So rather than looking at it as this is a statement about you, you can actually look at it more as a statement about them. That they possibly came from a family of origin that was being hypercritical, and they're just playing the cycle out. To be able to allow someone, if you look at it, I didn't cause their perspective. I therefore can't cure.
Do you ignore it? Do you confront it? Do you change what they say to you?
I like the idea
put
of
up a big stop
psychological
sign?
judo.
What do you do? What is it?
Psychological judo. You don't have to take a direct assault against them, which is probably what might have happened in the past, which is an explosion. You don't have to implode and just kind of, cowl passively, but you have the opportunity of being able to take what someone says, acknowledge that's maybe their point of view. It doesn't have to be something that you have to accept. But in fact, you can talk about who you are at this time, not who you were before.
Psychological judo. Love that. That's great. Michelle in Pinellas Park, what's going on with you this year?
Well, my son is currently not in my custody for things I did in the past, but I called to see when I was going to be able to come over and give gifts, and he is with his great-grandmother. So she said, well, he's going to have a busy Christmas. He's got to see his dad, see his grandmother, his grandfather, this other family member. So since it's not my family, I got put back.
So it sounds like you're really having a hard time with this emotionally, not being able to get in and see your child when you want to. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're not asking for legal advice here, but we know that divorce situations or people being separated from their kids is one of the most highly tense times at this season. How would you approach this?
Well, one thing that comes to my mind is whether you have the opportunity to see the child on a day other than the actual holiday. Do you know if you're going to have an opportunity to see him at all?
I get to see him often, but I mean, I don't get to. She said either get to come 3 days before Christmas or 3 days after.
Okay. I don't know all of the implications, and of course, we have a limited time. But what I would say is that it does sound as if you have the opportunity to make the time that you do have with him special in whatever way would be special for him. It sounds to me like you're a very caring person and you really want to have that time with him, and so I would hope that maybe you can find a way to celebrate on the time that you do have with him that's scheduled and make that a very special time that he'll remember.
And we'll have to take a break on that note. Very, very sad situation, and we really appreciate you calling and wish you luck with that. With half of all marriages ending in divorce, this is a huge issue this time of year, and we'll be right back and continue that conversation.
Fox Tuesday. Christmas night is full of mystery. First, a bizarre murder reveals a world of wannabe superheroes.
You think he was actually out fighting crime?
Wrongs. Then, shocking symptoms lead to a bizarre medical mystery.
What's happening to my son? I have no idea.
House.
See it all tonight, starting at 8 on Fox 13.
Take charge of your driving and reduce the risk. Log on to myfoxtampabay.com traffic. See the lights. Save a life. Brought to you by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Stay focused for the next 60 seconds. That's all the time I have to tell you the truth about HD television. The truth your cable company doesn't want you to hear. Cable wants you to believe they're keeping up with HD capacity. They're not. But DirecTV is. Get the best entertainment and the most HD channels with DirecTV. That includes exclusive sports with games and matchups you won't see on cable. So call now for all your favorite sports, movies, and shows. And you always get your local channels. Do you know what else? Packages start at only $29.99 per month. Plus, call now and ask how you can get 32 premium movie channels free for 3 months. There are no startup costs, no equipment to buy, and professional installation is free. Call now. You also get a free HD receiver or DirecTV DVR upgrade from America's #1 HD provider. Time's up. Make the call.
During this holiday season, Fox 13 will highlight some of the great charities in the Tampa Bay area.
Through hard work by mostly volunteers, these organizations provide vital services for people in need.
The Good Samaritan Mission,
The Gulf Coast Oncology Foundation,
the Tampa Bay Academy of Hope,
and the Homeless Emergency Project all provide vital services for people in need.
For contact information and ideas on how you can help,
log on to myfoxtampabay.com and share the spirit of the season.
Questionable pitch. Check. Horrible vibrato.
Man, I gotta get out of this town.
Check. Snippy judges.
The most depressing song I've ever heard in my life.
Check. Everything you want from Idol. Whoa. And so much more.
A great performance if you hadn't sung.
American Idol.
American Idol coming this January to Fox 13.
Coming to Fox. The BCS. The NFC Championship. Super Bowl 42. And the Daytona 500. The one network where champions are crowned.
Oh, there's no place like home for the holidays. For no matter how far
Except when it's not perfect like you want. Dr. Harold Shiniski and Mary McGinnis joining us today to sort of talk about some of these family conflicts that seem to become more intense during this time of year. Mary, tell us what you said during the break about this last caller about not going to be able to see the child on Christmas Day and really wrecked about that.
I think it's hard for people when they have an expectation of what Christmas or what any holiday is supposed to be, and somehow that's shifted either voluntarily or involuntarily. They aren't able to do it, and that unmet expectation creates some distress. And I hope that what we can do is look at the purpose of the holiday, the meaning of the holiday, and usually most of these holidays in some way have to do with being able to share time together. And if that doesn't happen on the exact day that the holiday is designated by someone else, then we can still make it a very special day.
Or another with so many divorces, this is a huge issue this time of year of, well, wait a minute, you got them on Christmas last year and now we have to switch at noon and all this. I mean, that's really a huge source of tension, not only for Christmas, but Hanukkah and other holidays and everything.
I know we were talking about the Rockwell kind of image, and no one comes from the John Boy Walton kind of image of what the perfect family is. The sad thing is when there is the divorce and there is the legal system involved, that there's the reality that as a married couple, you may not have been successful, but that doesn't mean that you have to fail as parents. And you have to realize just because there may be unresolved issues between you and your spouse, it doesn't mean that you have to negatively or adversely affect the children. And the children need to come first. And that's the whole point of being a parent. You subordinate, you take a secondary role, and you have a child who's dependent. And raising them, giving them traditions, routines, values, love, not necessarily playing out your unresolved conflicts with your spouse.
But isn't that exactly what does happen this time of year, is that the unresolved conflicts with the spouse, ex-spouse or whatever, is played out through the children over fighting over them?
Yes, and then there are power struggles that develop. And what I like to remind the parents that I work with is to remember what memory you want the children to take away from the holiday. What's the biggest memory? And if for instance, the splitting of the day is something that people will often say, well, you'll have them in the morning and I'll have that just is very disruptive for the children. They really struggle with that. They want to be able to be in one place and share that time. Doesn't mean you won't communicate with them, but that seems logical. It just is disruptive. And when people can know a little bit more about the developmental needs of their children and things like that, it can be helpful in structuring something that makes a meaningful memory for the child.
And imagine a newly divorced parent not being with the kids for the first time on a day that they consider special or significant, and they probably feel lonely and like a failure and missing the child, and resentful and angry.
If there is that first holiday and subsequent ones too, where you feel as though you haven't been able to satisfy your expectations for what's normal or what you would love to have a shared holiday, it's really important at that point to be around individuals who can be your support network too. Obviously, you're going through an awful lot, not only as your child with this type of transition, but same with you. You have to be around people who can be supportive of you and help you get through that difficulty.
Jerry in Port Richey, what's going on with you?
Yes, good afternoon, Kathy. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I used to have a dysfunctional family, but I've been so truly blessed the last 3 or 4 years. I was divorced from my ex-wife about 7 years now and was remarried. And my children used to stay with their parents and never called me in that. But through a lot of praying and a lot of communications and opening up the lines of communication between my ex-wife and my children, we now share children's Christmas Eve. We go to church together at Christmas Eve. We exchange gifts. And we swap out going to each other's houses every other Christmas. We'll go in the morning for them, or we'll sit there and come over to our house.
Jerry, that is fantastic.
Yay.
I know. Who made the first overture?
I would assume my current wife. She sit there and the children were very resentful against her because of the divorce and that. But through her constant nurturing and opening up her heart to the other children, saying, "Oh, I was not the cause of your divorce from your mom."
Wow.
But the children finally came over, and they're in their late teens and early 20s now.
Jerry, that's amazing that you can take what I'm sure the people are watching who think that could never happen with me. I hate that other side of the family, and they're never going to be to see that several years down the road, you can come to a common agreement here.
I think that's one of the key points that you make, those several years down the road. There is typically an adjustment period for this. And I think that when we try to force the issue before it's ripe, really, that's usually when we have some struggles. But what sounds like happened here was that there was a natural evolution and there was healing that took place along the way. And there were people who began to feel more comfortable in their respective roles. And that little by little, you see that people say, okay, we can all have our place. We can all love these children. We can figure this out. And I think that's just wonderful.
It's not a competition amongst the parents for the love of the child. It's a cooperation.
That's exactly what they treat it like, I'm sure. What does it do to the kids in these circumstances?
Well, you actually roll the dice at an early age when you actually train a child that this is normal. This type of conflict.
Bickering
they don't teach resolving. They don't teach the idea of respecting each other. They don't teach open communication. Congratulations, you've now just trained your child for what their future might be. The opportunity from a young age to be able to show as a role model how to be able to negotiate, compromise, communicate, be respectful. Even if we haven't made it as a couple, we can still make it as a family.
Wow, that's so healthy. I wish everyone was doing that, modeling that behavior for our kids. We'll take a break. What if you have different religions in your family? We'll be right back.
Merry Christmas.
We didn't come to impose.
Oh, hell, there's plenty of room.
We were gonna call, but Eddie wanted to make it a surprise.
If I woke up tomorrow with my head sewn to the carpet, I wouldn't be more surprised than I am right now.
Living with bipolar disorder can be a hard road. For years, I had severe mood swings, racing thoughts, unusually high energy, and was extremely irritable. My doctor and I discussed my treatment options. He prescribed Abilify.
Abilify helps control symptoms of bipolar mania and reduce the risk of manic relapse. Visit Abilifyinfo.com for your free information kit. When taking Abilify, call your doctor if you have high fever, stiff muscles, and confusion, as these may be signs of a life-threatening reaction, or if you have muscle movements that cannot be stopped, as these could become permanent. High blood sugar has been reported in some people taking Abilify. In extreme cases, this can lead to coma or death. Your doctor should monitor your blood sugar if you have or are at risk for diabetes. Elderly people with dementia should not take Abilify due to an increased risk of death or stroke. Some people feel faint or dizzy upon standing. Other risks include impaired judgment or motor skills and trouble swallowing. Hundreds of thousands of patients have been prescribed Abilify. Ask your doctor if Abilify is right for you.
For
free delivery, interest-free financing, Kane's Furniture year-end free sale. Now through Friday only. Every living room, every bedroom, every item in every department is on sale. Plus, get free delivery or interest-free financing store-wide. No interest till 2012. The Kane's year-end free sale. You pick the style. We'll deliver it free. Kane's Furniture. Style for all.
Coming to Fox, the greatest lineup of championship events in television history. The BCS, the NFC Championship, Super Bowl 42, and the 50th running of the Daytona 500. The one network where champions are crowned. Sudden bursts of talent.
How you doing, honey, baby? No, I don't ask for much.
Check. Honest emotion.
Is the country now?
Check. Stars being born. Check. 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 Everything you want from Idol. And so much more.
You're verging on annoying when you sing.
American Idol.
American Idol coming this January to Fox 13.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel. You're as
What happens if you're not the Grinch, but you're in a divorce situation? Go ahead, Harold. What happens sometimes with parents at the holiday time to try to win the affection of their kids?
Well, unfortunately, at this time of the year, because it is the season of giving, there's a lot of parents who are competing for their child's affection, and they become Santa Claus in extreme. They're the Uber Santa Claus.
Uber Santa.
They just start bestowing gifts onto the child, and the whole premise actually is not because it's the season of giving, but it's an attempt to almost manipulate, win over their child through, I buy you this. And so it turns into this ongoing competition by the parent to do this. And it's an incredibly superficial relationship.
Well, and on what I know from working with kids is that they know this. They often know what's going on. And there's a counter manipulation that goes on about this as well. So when parents think, well, I'm doing this and I will therefore engender the affection, I just like to let parents know there's another side of this where the child really is knowing what's going on and they're just
using
sort of
it.
they can.
So what would be a better idea? What's a better alternative for not bestowing gifts in an attempt to
Well, I mean,
gather
they oftentimes talk about the 4 A's of love. And if as a parent to a child, if attention, affection, acceptance, and approval, if spending time with your child, doing things you like, that they like, affection being publicly, privately, verbally, non-verbally showing your affection, accepting them, loving them for who they are, and approving what their goals and dreams are. The child will experience that as love rather than purchasing them a gift.
It's a great gift. Chad and Ruskin, what's going on with you?
Hello, I just want to say thanks for taking my call and Merry Christmas to everybody.
Sure.
Me and my family are dealing with a little bit of adversity this holiday season. We're being evicted from our home, and we have to be out in 3 days. And it's just hard to deal with. I've grown up under, rough times and not having a mother or a father, but it's just really putting a lot of stress on me and my girlfriend and our 2 kids trying to figure out what we're going to do for the holidays.
Wow, Chad, that is just so difficult. What would you say to somebody who's dealing with adversity this time of year of an extreme nature?
Well, I like the way he's really looking at how we can protect my kids, my children. Obviously, wherever you're going to go is going to be a place that's going to be strange and different because you're being evicted. Providing some type of continuity, letting them know that it's not the structure that we live in that is, important. It's the love, the sharing of the holiday, regardless of where we're at. But that's a terribly devastating situation at the moment.
What happens if you celebrate different religions during this time? Does that bring people into conflict?
All the time. People are, not everyone is in conflict. Some people really negotiate that very well. And at the core of all of this is a mutual respect, that the sharing of another person's faith perspective does not mean you necessarily accept that perspective. It just means that you allow for the experience to be meaningful to everyone that's involved. And so negotiation and compromise just is going to be a part and parcel of all of this. What I find is that the family, the central family, usually can figure this out very well. When the trouble begins is when we start to go further out of the circle.
To the in-laws and the parents.
In-laws and parents
Yeah.
and aunts and uncles and expectations and what they grew up with and what does it mean, and is this supportive of our faith perspective? Do we even allow for this kind of tolerance, and what does it mean if we do? So there's an awful lot, and then we start to get then into the family dynamic. So we have the religious aspect that's at the core, but also filtered in are the family dynamics. But you can always negotiate a compromise, that you can turn it into a secular event completely and remove all religious orientation. You can allow for both
or three or
sure.
however many.
You can decide what's the core concept, and most of the core concepts of these religious observances of holidays has to do with sharing, giving, togetherness, connection. And once you can find the core common denominator, you can find ways to observe that respect all.
When I consulted with the Archdiocese up north in Maryland, one of the priests actually said during the Christmas holiday time that religion isn't rigid. Religion isn't rigid, but many people who practice it are. And I thought that was a nice way of looking at it, that we need to be much more accepting and diversity appreciation. You know, that we are doing what we believe is right because it's our faith, but it doesn't mean it's an absolute necessarily when it comes to anyone else. It's an opportunity to be able to share.
Jerry in Bradenton, how about you?
Hi, Kathy.
Hi.
Listen, honey, I got this thing figured out long time ago.
Great. What is the secret of life?
Well, everything. I had 6 children in high school at one time, 3 football players and some cheerleaders. And boy, they didn't give me no trouble because they weren't allowed to. But I'm telling you, they're all married. They're all doing their own thing. And that makes me so happy. Because all I do, I don't send Christmas cards. I don't send money or presents. I make a quick call to each one, wish them the very best. And then I go on, and I'm 85 years old. And the doctor said I look 35. He said, you have no right to look 35
All
and
right.
be...
So I don't want the secret of life. I want the secret of youth from you, Jerry. I appreciate that. Quickly, Larry and Sebring, running out of time. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I think everybody should remember what this season's all about.
And what is that to you, sir?
The reason for this season is Jesus Christ.
And from your perspective, that is exactly, it's sort of like what Mary said.
Yes,
you
for
know.
the last 45 years, I haven't had to put up with anything because my family, my wife and I have been married for 45 years, and we've had our Christmas here until my son got married, and now we all have a get together at one another's house.
Well, that's great. Sounds like he's got some things figured out in his family.
Well, depending on your family, it's an absolute way of looking at it.
Depending on your family, yeah. It's just, you know, like you said, it's a time to sort of step back, be calm, figure out how your buttons get pushed and how to sort of keep from getting yourself into those things again. Psychological judo, I'm going to remember that one. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Bill Murphy. Our Fox 13 one-tank trip books make great holiday gifts and stocking stuffers. Order them by phone at 1-888-1-TANK.
Happy Honda days are here again, which means your Honda dealer is offering great deals on every car in stock. This holiday season is the perfect time to get into a new Accord, popular Civic, fun-loving Fit, or any Honda you desire. Just choose your favorite color and think Honda for the holidays. Lease a Honda Civic for $199 a month for well-qualified customers.
Introducing the floor store that comes to your door. That's right, Bob's Carpet Mart now offers you shop-at-home floors.
Shopping for your new floors in the convenience of your own home is a great service we offer, and we've got everything you need to make the perfect flooring choice right here.
Plus, you get up to 50% off all flooring, no extra charge for repair and installation, and no payments and no interest for 1 year. To shop at home, go online to bobscarpet.com or call us at 800-228-BOBS. Bob's Carpet Mart. You gotta love it.
Some of them dream of making it to the top. Others can only dream of making it here.
You are aware this is a singing competition.
For the hopefuls, for the inspired, for the unforgettable, and for one superstar talent, the time is almost here.
Is our next American Idol among us today?
American Idol.
The new season of American Idol coming this January to Fox 13.
Morning talk.
We're not dating.
We are like a married couple.
Late night attitude.
We annoy each other and there's no sex.
The morning show with Mike and Juliet, asking the questions that matter.
Is it cheating? A lap dance.
No. Oh, come on.
With big stars.
I did kiss him. Did you use a tongue?
And a whole lot of love.
One iota. Oh!
Naughty.
We talk about sex a lot.
Newsy.
We have the breaking details.
Mornings.
Love you.
See it weekday mornings at 10 on Fox 13.
During this holiday season, Fox 13 will highlight some of the great charities in the Tampa Bay area.
Through hard work by mostly volunteers, these organizations provide vital services for people in need.
The Good Samaritan Mission,
The Gulf Coast Oncology Foundation,
the Tampa Bay Academy of Hope,
and the Homeless Emergency Project all provide vital services for people in need.
For contact information and ideas on how you can help,
Log on to myfoxtampabay.com and share the spirit of the season.
I'd like to thank my guests today for their wisdom in negotiating some of these holiday squabbles, Dr. Harold Shanitsky and also Mary McGinnis, both licensed therapists in the state of Florida. And thanks so much for giving us some ideas to go on and, negotiate some of these things. And don't be the Griswolds this year, you guys. Have a great afternoon.
Happy holidays.